Hello, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to our premiere of Now That's an Episode here at TB Entertainment. I am your host, Troy, and most of the time it will be me here discussing episodes, giving kind of a summary of it, my thoughts, and whatnot. But every so often I will have a guest host with me. Today's guest host happens to be one of my daughters. Go ahead and say hi.
Hi.
We'll call her Faith. And she's also the one that actually picked out today's episode, so I will let her tell you what episode we will be discussing.
We are discussing the first ever episode of Izombie, which conveniently is also named pilot, such as this episode now. Coincidences.
It's our pilot or a premiere. There we go. Give you a little back history of the television show Izombie. It originally aired on the CW. It ran for 5 seasons. It started March 17th of 2015, and it ended August 1st of 2019. The TV show is loosely based on the comic series, which I didn't know it was a comic series either.
I haven't stumbled across any yet, so.
Right, we haven't stumbled across it. We haven't checked them out, so it's kind of nice to find out. It was originally created by two gentlemen named Chris Roberson and Michael Allred. I hope that I got that correctly. If not, I apologize. Go ahead.
And before we continue, spoiler alerts are included in this.
Oh yes, absolutely. Spoiler alerts. This is your big spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen either this show or watched the first episode, stop it right now. Go watch it. Come back and finish it. We'll still be here.
And if you can't find it on regular TV, that's because it's on Netflix. So yeah.
Netflix is one of the platforms that you can watch on. I'm sure it's probably on a few others. I'm sure there's Hulu or whatnot. So, but it's definitely on Netflix right now. As I was saying, it was published by DC Comics, but it was under their Vertigo imprint. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I know nothing about the comics. Like we just said, we never run across one. We never read one. So I kind of accidentally watched an episode. It was about 3 or 4 episodes in. I was like, okay, nothing's on TV tonight. Let's see what's going on. And I caught maybe the last 30, 40 minutes of it. It could have been the beginning of the episode. It was so long ago, I can't even remember. And next thing I know, I'm kind of sitting there kind of intrigued on what's going on. To me, it seemed like the episodes were pretty easy to follow right away. I mean,
yeah,
they had good stories, decent characters, good plot.
Moved along really easily and didn't confuse you.
Right? I mean, there's sometimes you watch a show and you're like, oh, that's kind of not for me. And sometimes you watch a show and almost right away you're like, okay, I get where you're going with this.
That was me.
That was her, absolutely. We've tried getting her to watch certain shows, and she's like, I couldn't care less. She watched the first episode, and before it was over, she was like, what's going on next? Can I watch what's next?
I can't sit still.
That's true. So this is one of those buddy cop, supernatural type of shows where it mixes the buddy cop humor, the supernatural, some drama, dark humor. And I like I said before, I thought it blended it really well. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to kind of discuss. Faith here is going to give you a little bit of a backstory for our main characters at this point, and then we'll go into kind of just giving you a quick overview of the episode, what happened and all that, and then we'll give you our thoughts and our ideas after that's over, and we'll go from there. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so our main character is Olivia, also known as Liv Moore. She was a medical examiner, I think.
A medical resident.
Yeah, that. And then, zombietized, and now she works at the Moore where she can get free brains.
Yeah, she quit her residency, got a job at the local medical examiner, so she was able to get access to brains, because something we find out throughout the course of this is if they don't consume brains in a certain amount of time or after a while, they kind of, what's the best way to say it?
Become the Walking Dead zombies.
There we go. They become the Walking Dead zombies, the classic Romero zombies, where they're just shambling around, dumb, just looking for the next meal. So, I mean, that's a good point to make, because for some of our characters that are zombies, they get close to just kind of that happening to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. So.
And before I continue on the next character, I just want to say, with the name, I didn't understand why they picked this name until recently. It was like Live, as in living, More, as in the More. So writers, I like the hidden little.
That was a clever little joke. Play there. Yeah, Live More. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, and then there is Major, who was Liv's fiance before she got zombietized, and then Liv called it all off.
Yeah, because, she was a zombie,
But let's not zombitize the person you love the most.
Right. Who else?
There's Liv's mom, who is incredibly worried about her behavior. up until like the second season. Then you don't really see her.
Yeah, you don't really see her too much after this season. You hear her talk about from time to time, but don't really see her. And another point to make is she's also kind of one of those helicopter pilot moms where she needs to know what's going on no matter what. Not just with Liv, but with her brother, who, you know, we get introduced into this show too. And what's the brother like?
He's kind of concerned, but not really. I mean, he's got his own problems. He's got to find a job and stuff.
Right, so, and then the next person we kind of meet is her roommate, Peyton, and Peyton is, I know she's a lawyer. I want to say she is the district attorney for Seattle, and they're roommates. They've been friends for many years now, and she thinks what? Liv is going through what?
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD from what? The boat party.
Yeah, which is where Liv got scratched. In this universe, if it doesn't matter if you're bitten or scratched, if they pierce your skin, basically you were
draw blood.
You were guaranteed to be a zombie.
And we come to find out later on that it's not just biting, scratching, or drawing blood. If you also, you know, little ones watching, if you also, you know, have sex with a zombie, you will also become a zombie. So there's multiple ways that the infection can spread.
Yeah, but it's not transmittable between other different species. So
right. So that's a good thing to know. And who's our next character?
I would say probably Ravi.
Ravi, which, to be perfectly honest, neither her nor I can pronounce his last name. We're not going to try.
We may butcher it.
We're going to butcher it. We're going to butcher it big time. And that probably won't be the last time that we butcher it. So we're just going to stay safe, and we'll just say Ravi. Because for the most part, that's what he gets called throughout the show, Ravi.
Yeah.
And who is Ravi?
He is Liv's boss, and he pieces together that Liv is a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I can't pronounce his last name. We both can't do that, so...
Ravi.
Yeah.
Ravi, we've established. So Ravi, yes, is her boss at the examiner's office, which also works closely with the Seattle PD, which is where we get our next character.
Clive Babineau?
Babineau. Again, in one of those names, unless you watch a show, sometimes you're going to screw it up. But yeah. Clive Babineau.
Yeah, who is a fresh, like, he literally just got his shield for homicide. He's a homicide detective, basically. Mm-hmm.
And he's still kind of trying to find his footwork and his place in the department. Mm-hmm. And let's see. I apologize. I'm going to be looking down every once in a while because got script here. So, yeah.
And just going back to Raleigh for a second, a little bit of backstory about him. He was in the CDC.
That's correct.
And he basically got fired because he kept saying that there could be a man-made illness that could cause, well, basically the end of the world or the apocalypse.
Apocalypse, downfall of society, whatever. And he was telling that to a lot of people, and, you know, like most people do, they're like, all right, let's kind of get this guy away from us. Yeah. And the only real place that he could get work at the time was...
the morgue.
Well, morgue, medical examiner, still not bad, but, you know, that's why when he finds out in this episode, he doesn't, you know, blow his top. So, let's see. Let's go ahead and start this off. So, our main character of... we're just going to go ahead and call her Liv since we've introduced her that way. Our main character, Liv, after a day of being a resident at, I don't think it's Sedwood Hospital, but after she gets done with a shift, somebody that she didn't really like, was kind of competing for the same job, invites her to this boat party. And she initially says, you know, I'm good. I'm going to go home with my fiance, Major. And let's put it this way, Major, I'll be honest, Major's a good-looking man.
Oh yeah, he even says there are at least 3 girls who would kill to be with a man like him.
Right, and he's not doing it to be vain, but you could tell he has a lot of fun with it. But Major's like, look, I got you for the rest of my life. Go to the boat party, have some fun, loosen up, and, you know, I'll see you in the morning. And so she decides to. And next thing you know, she's smack dab in the middle of what?
A zombie, outbreak.
A zombie outbreak.
And yeah, way to go, Major.
Right?
One time I didn't want to go to the party. Now look at me, I'm a zombie and I gotta break up with you.
Yeah, but at least she never held it against him. So throughout the show, she never holds it against him because she was kind of like, you know what? I could have said no. I still went anyway. And yep, she ends up smack dab in the middle of a zombie outbreak from something called Utopia. And now it's a drug that's in Seattle at the time. And the people that took it, apparently it was this tainted batch of Utopia. And they mixed it with something called a Max Rager drink, which kind of like Monster, Red Bull, all those other stuff. It's supposed to be this energy drink that's supposed to give you a lot of energy. Well, unfortunately, when you mix the tainted Utopium and the Max Rager, instant outbreak, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, so Liv finds herself smack dab in the middle of the zombie outbreak on this boat. They end up calling it the Washington Boat Massacre, if I remember correctly.
Tons and tons of people died.
Right. So, and she ends up getting scratched. Like we said, you can be infected multiple ways, but she ends up getting scratched by and turned into a zombie, and so she quits her job and becomes a medical examiner. And her secret is eventually discovered by Ravi. And the way he discovered it is he let her do the autopsy on one of a person that came through, and a while after, the police came through, and Ravi had to open up the same cadaver, and he found that the person was missing like a half pound of brain. And after that, you kind of learn how to put 1 + 2 = 3. You know what I'm saying?
And fun fact about zombies, they can't taste, so they got to put extra hot sauce on everything.
Yeah. So the first thing you see her is buying like the Night of the Living Dead movie and all these cup of noodle things, and she is just loading it up with hot sauce because they have no real taste, and spice is the only thing that can really taste. So we find out that when Clive comes down to inquire about this Jane Doe that just turned up in their medical examiner's office, that Liv, when she consumes brains, something interesting happens. And the interesting thing that happens is
she gets visions, like old memories and some traits from that person. But it's only temporary until the brain wears off.
Yeah.
Which is really good in some cases.
It is really good in some cases. Because in this one, she eats the brain of a Romanian klepto, and throughout the episode, she's stealing red things. Like, it's honestly red things. And
like
she just...
stapler, picture frames.
Right. And she just kind of like, why am I doing this? And then we come to find out that when they go to talk to somebody, she's able to understand Romani, and she has no idea why.
You said it right.
Romanian. Okay, I said it right the first time. I apologize to anybody out there watching this. But what happens is, at first, she wants nothing to do with the investigation. She has this flash of seeing their Jane Doe arrested in Canada a few years earlier, and when Clive checks on the information, he finds out that it's correct. Now, granted, she gave Lady Gaga's real name as her name, but still, the evidence, the information was still correct. And there's no way to simply just sit there and tell somebody, oh, by the way, I had a flash because I ate somebody's brains because I'm a zombie. So her boss kind of sticks her into a hard spot when he ends up telling Detective Babineau, Clive, that
she's a psychic, so...
Right, that she has psychic visions every once in a while, and that's how she knew this information, which I guess in retrospect is probably a better way to kind of than just coming out, I'm a zombie, what can you do?
Yeah.
So,
That's awkward.
After she's kind of able to start helping Clive, she initially wants to kind of back out of the investigation, but she realizes, look, I'm going to use this negative of becoming a zombie and turn it into a positive, because she hasn't really felt like herself since the massacre and breaking up with Major and all this kind of stuff, and kind of putting herself into this little shell and this is my bubble.
She basically goes, I'm a zombie now, life is over for me, just, yeah.
Exactly. So she's like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and kind of help Clive out with this case, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Give me a second so I can get here. So she struggles to keep her zombie existence a secret from her friends, her family, and her roommate. But she realizes that she can still have some sort of a life throughout the episode, that her life isn't completely over, and that she can still contribute. So anyway, so as as it progresses, we're introduced to another character, which we don't really get a lot of him in this episode, but we come to find out that it's the zombie that turned Liv at the boat party massacre, whose name is Blaine.
Actually, we see him at the end of the episode in the vision. We don't meet him till the next episode.
Okay, so we see him at the end of the episode. But you do see him at the very beginning of the episode when they're showing this quick flashbacks, but you don't know who he is. It's just a zombie turning around.
That's why you don't do drugs, kids. Right?
This is your warning. Don't do drugs and mixed stuff. You never know. You could become a zombie apocalypse. But we kind of get reintroduced to him. We come finding out throughout the season that he was basically a drug dealer, and he worked for this person named Voss. And he was kind of this low type guy, always peddling the drugs and pushing the drugs. Well, after he became a zombie, he decided that he would...
I don't remember.
She doesn't remember. He decided that instead of selling drugs, he was going to sell brains. So he got in the business of brains and giving brains to these, because he comes to find out, so we got more than just me and a few other people that are zombies. I can make this a lucrative career and be like, look, you want to be able to survive? Here, give me $25,000 a month, and I'll make sure that you have enough supply of brains, which, honestly, not a bad thing to do. If you could corner the market on it, why not? Because he stations his shop out of a butcher shop. Right?
For now, yeah.
So anyway, as the story progressed, Liv kind of starts getting flashes, and she comes to find out that the person that killed their Jane Doe was actually a police officer on the force with Clive, who tried to inch Clive out of the investigation because he was having an affair, and the Jane Doe and her partner ended up stealing his
wedding ring.
And that's the reason he killed her. He wanted his wedding ring back. She kleptoed it.
Yeah, and then her friend pawned it off, and so they both got kidnapped because there are two of them.
Exactly, and he ended up having them in this house, and he's threatening them with bodily harm and obviously death if they don't give it back, because his wife's coming home from a trip, and if he doesn't have that, he's screwed. She's gonna know.
And the dog.
Oh yeah, and the dog. So what happened is, in this one, Clive and Liv get there, and Liv ends up getting shot. And we learn something else about zombies when their adrenaline starts going up. They enter, what does she call it again?
Zombie rage.
Zombie rage mode. Yeah, it's basically their veins pop out of their skin, their eyes go really dark red, and they go kind of full force zombie. And not so much, I'm going to attack you, but it's like their strength is enhanced, their speed.
Think the Hulk if he was human size and not green.
Right. Basically, that's it. Their adrenaline's pumping, so everything in their body's amped. Their strength, their speed, their durability. And it takes them a little bit of time to kind of
chill, calm
down, and then they go back into how they are. Because when you become a zombie, your skin goes like white, your hair goes white, and then a lot of the zombies that are bit or scratch, they end up dying or doing tanning and all that kind of stuff.
Except Liv, she's like, whatever.
Right, except Liv. So, anyway, so by the end of the episode, she's able to accept her new condition and has a bit more peace, and she actually starts interacting with her family and friends a little bit more, because they're trying to put on this haunted house, because it's obviously around Halloween time for them. And Liv shows up to this party, and she shows up as
a zombie.
Zombie.
Why not?
Why don't you use it? And her friends are like, you know what? Now I want to be a zombie. She's like, well, it's a whole life thing. You got to do the draggy leg, the dull stare, the brain eating. What can you do? But she actually feels like she kind of has hope that maybe her life isn't, completely over. So that's basically pretty much sums up the first episode, more or less. Obviously, a bit more happened here or there. You get introduced to small side characters like Johnny Frost, and you'll see him. Yeah, he's like the weatherman. He thinks he's like the best one ever. But let's see. So yeah, that basically sums up the pilot episodes.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a great episode, but one thing I really wish they would have done is when Liv hulks out, she when Clive calls her name, she completely goes back. It doesn't take her time. I kind of wish that she would have kind of just been like that when Clive showed up and found somewhere to hide. I think it would have added a little bit more suspense to it.
Kind of like, I'm not sure what I saw, but maybe I'll spend the rest of the time piecing it together throughout the season.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. But it also shows that even though she doesn't like her new condition, that
she can control it.
She has some control over it. She doesn't have to stay that way. So, like I said, the first half of any news show, for the sum up of this, is the first half of the season for any news show, you're learning the characters, their do's, their don'ts, their traits, and that kind of thing. And sometimes it takes some people a little bit of time to get into it. I got into it after the first episode or two. There's been a few shows that, we're going to talk about and discuss here to where it's the same thing. It didn't take me long to get into the shows. And we're going to talk about a few shows where I watched them and I'm like, okay, that's not really for me. and then I came back to them sometime later. It could have been weeks, months, years, and I was finally like, okay, I'm in the headspace to watch this. What do you think on that one? Is this one of the ones where if people watch it that are kind of into this, they're going to be like, yes, this is something I could follow? Or do you think it'll be a slow burn for them?
I think depending on the person, because if you're like me and you like a lot of action, you like mystery, you like suspense and like some drama, I think that they'd get into it the same way I did. Like kind of like where you're 20 minutes in, you're like, what happened now?
Right,
where
right.
If you're like one of those people who are really, 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 really restless and can't really sit still, it might take you longer to like just chill out and be able to understand it. And if you're one of those people who don't really like it, it might take you a little bit more time, but
you'll get there, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's easier to follow, so it's like you can leave for 5 minutes, come back, and be able to catch up in a couple minutes. It's
right, like if you're
stuff.
grabbing a snack or something, you missed a few minutes, you're not going to miss too much.
Yeah.
And something I like about this one, I noticed that a lot of the end of the episodes, they kind of leave it on, there's a slight cliffhanger where you're like, what's going to happen next? Like, kind of like True Blood used to do. You haven't seen True Blood, you're not old enough yet. But they did the same style for True Blood, where a lot of the end of the episodes were slight cliffhangers, and it's making you want to see the next episode because you want to see what happens.
Yeah, that's where we meet Blaine, in the vision that she has while she's sleeping, finally.
Right, she finally gets some sleep after months, and that's when she kind of has the vision about Blaine from yeah. So anyway, on that point, I would like to say that I appreciate everybody that took time to stop by to watch this today, especially since our inaugural episode. It's probably running a little bit longer. I can see my timer here at about 21 minutes. But again, we'll get this down a little bit better once we kind of get more used to doing this. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by. If you have any questions or comments, like always, please ask a question. Be nice though. Okay, because I don't want people to sit there and be nasty again. So if you have a good question or comment, I will try to read them as best as possible. My guest host will try to read them. We will try to answer ones that we can. And if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button, hit the notification button, and if you want to know when our next episode is going to be out, you can always hit the ring that bell so you can get notified. And right now we're probably going to do about maybe 1-2 episodes a month. It depends on our scheduling and whatnot. I will let everybody know that in June we're going to be gone for a bit of a time, but we will record an episode and hopefully release it right before we leave. So yeah, we will do our best. If people like these and we're able to work it out, then we'll definitely try to do more episodes as we go along. But for right now, 1 or 2 episodes a month. And we do appreciate everybody that has watched this. And I believe Faith here wanted to say something.
Yeah. For anyone who is wondering, there's a reason why we do not show guest stars' faces.
Well,
there's a reason. It's a privacy reason.
There's a reason why we're not showing her face, because she is my daughter. She's a teenager, and it's respect to both for me and her mother that we don't do it. We don't mind if she talks, but that's a reason why you don't see her and you only see my weird looking face right now. Normally I wear glasses, but today I happen to wear my contacts. Yeah, and so with that, we're gonna let you know I had a lot of fun making this. This was a lot of fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I technically had the first summary.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. She actually sat there and she wrote out her summary to kind of follow things. Like, she did really well. She went in depth, and I got my papers here front and back. So we had a lot of fun doing this, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a little while. And the reason it took so long is because originally I was supposed to enter the service, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. So I'm like, you know what, let me go ahead and start tackling this because I said I would. Now we were going to just kind of leave it off here, but Faith here gave me a good idea that for our next episode,
we're gonna leave a hint on what it is.
Yeah, we're gonna leave a little bit of a hint on what it is. So this is going to be your hint for the next episode. And unlike the next episode that we do, it's not going to be the pilot episode. We will jump around from shows to shows. It'll be the first episode of that season or that show, and maybe a few episodes down it'll be the 5th season, the 6th episode, because we're just kind of doing our likes. But your hint at this next one is that you're not a monster, you're a werewolf, like me. So on that note, I'm going to wish you all a wonderful day. Please stop by again. I want to thank Faith here for being a good guest host and everything else. And we will see you next time on Now That's an Episode.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Thanks, everybody.